In the horniest year of my life. I was Willow's simp for 3 years. There was no other reason. Her face was stunning. She was incredible in bed, and her body was flawless. So when she broke up with me, I cried my eyes out and begged. Wife, after we break up, can we still kiss? If you call me to sleep with you, will you still come to me? Willow glanced at me in disgust and turned away. Behind her, I wailed like a ghost. Why we? Don't go. I can't live without you. What am I supposed to do without you? However, that very night, someone filmed a video of me and sent it to Willow. In the video, I had my arms around 6 young models, and said with utter disdain, Willow, who would like a tigress like her? I was just lusting after her body. The next second, my phone was bombarded with calls from Willow. She shouted, we just broke up and you're already playing with other women. You're arrogant and full of yourself, but if you dared to toy with my feelings, your life won't be so easy. I'll be there in 10 minutes. You'd better pray you can escape within those 10 minutes. Chapter 1. The moment I heard the word break up, my whole world collapsed. No one knows just how well I've been eating these past 3 years with Willow. My voice trembled as I said, do we really have to break up? Willow pulled the blanket over her head, clearly not wanting to deal with me. In a flat tone, she replied, maybe it was because we had just gone through an intense round a moment ago. Her voice was still slightly hoarse. I immediately started rolling on the floor, beating my chest and stomping my feet, wailing as if the sky had fallen. Willow was speechless. She yanked the blanket off and snapped. Are you done yet? I'm not dead. I crawled to the bedside, my hand sliding to her waist, my fingertips brushing over the curves there. In utter despair, I said, wife, after we break up, can we still kiss? If I ask you to come over and sleep with me, will you still come? Willow stared at me without blinking. Her gaze was dark and unreadable. After a long while, she rolled her eyes and said with extreme disdain, can you have a little dignity? I lifted my head at just the right moment and looked at her with deep affection. Wife, I love you. Unlike what I had imagined, Willow was not moved. Instead, she coldly pulled her hand away from mine. How much do you love me? She asked. The kind of love I can't pull myself out of, I said. She glared at me and enunciated each word. Then if you put my face and body aside, what exactly do you like about me? I froze instantly. The moment I looked up, I met Willow's scrutinizing gaze. She stared so intensely that I suddenly felt guilty, and all my smooth lines died in my throat. Sorry, I can't lie to a woman, I stammered. I can't. Put them aside. Willow was famous for her explosive temper. On top of that, she came from a powerful family. She treated everyone with a commanding, high and mighty attitude, but she was unbelievably beautiful. At first, there were tons of guys at school chasing her, yet one after another, they retreated in defeat because of her sharp tongue and fiery temper. No one had expected that the one who would win Willow over would be someone as ordinary as me. For a time, rumors flooded everywhere about how skilled and calculating I must be. In truth, there wasn't much strategy involved. I just had a very clear goal. The first moment I saw Willow, I wanted to get her into bed. When people are doing something a little wicked, they don't feel tired. So naturally, I could tolerate everything about her. Her willfulness and sensitivity, to me, were part of her charm. I wanted to know about her childhood, her past pain and joy. I secretly listened to the songs she liked, quietly memorized every hobby and habit she mentioned in passing. I paid attention to her personality, the flowers she liked, watched the movies she loved, took screenshots and saved everything related to her. I loved her, along with all her vulnerabilities and flaws. After running the same little combo moves day after day, Willow was eventually moved by me. On the first day, we talked about literature and philosophy. On the second day, we talked about life and ideals. On the third day, we talked about values and future plans. By the final night, I said, let me see your legs. Willow didn't show any disgust. Instead, with a lingering gaze, she pulled me closer and said, then you're coming to my place tonight to listen to me talk about my family of origin. Okay. At this moment, hearing my answer, Willow suddenly fell silent. She lowered her head and looked at the clothes scattered across the floor. After a long while, she looked up at me again, a bitter smile on her face. We've been together for 3 years. Don't I have any inner beauty that attracts you? Yes, I said, meeting Willow's burning gaze. I swallowed and added, your insides are very good at attracting people. Chapter 2. It has to be said, Willow changes her face faster than she takes off her clothes. After I finished speaking, for some reason she suddenly got angry. She grabbed my underwear and flung it straight at my face, then kicked me out of the house. She said, get as far away as you can. Don't ever come looking for me again in this lifetime. The door slammed shut without the slightest mercy. Willow has always had a fiery temper. In the past, she'd thrown little fits and driven me out before, But this time felt different. Not because of her, because of me. Maybe I'm just getting older. Maybe I don't have the same energy anymore. I felt a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. Outside, rain poured down in sheets. I opened the ride-hailing app. Every option was fully booked. Gritting my teeth, I decided to just walk back in the rain. The moment I stepped out, an umbrella was suddenly handed to me. I paused and instinctively turned around. Willow. But it was only the butler's calm, expressionless face. He made a polite gesture of invitation. Miss said you walk too slowly. She doesn't want to see you again. She asked you to leave as quickly as possible. I said flatly. Oh. I looked up at the familiar silhouette standing by the floor-to-ceiling window. The moment she noticed my gaze, the figure flickered and disappeared. When my buddy saw me, he froze. Weren't you going to see Willow? He asked. My chest felt stuffed with cotton, heavy and suffocating. I let out a long sigh and shook my head. We broke up. He patted my shoulder, wanting to say something, but fell silent instead. The next second, I pulled out the Supreme Platinum card of Orange Club and said, "What are we waiting for? Club girls, let's go." My buddy looked at me like I'd lost my mind. That night, I dragged him into the club with the highest number of young models. As long as you find someone new fast enough. Heartbreak doesn't exist, I said. Who does Willow think she is? There are plenty of women out there. If one's gone, we switch. We hadn't even been seated long when we ran into a bunch of acquaintances. In the booth next to us sat a group of rich young men and heiresses, most of them from Willow's social circle. They were the ones who had been most skeptical about Willow staying with me for 3 years. Now they surrounded me and started mocking. Well, if it isn't George, the king of simps. Hey Juan the simp, what are you doing here drinking alone? Did Willow dump you? Figures. If you hadn't been groveling and chasing after Willow like a total simp every day, would she ever have given you the time of day? Their laughter surrounded me, but my buddy was faster than I was. He was already drunk. He smashed his glass down and lunged forward. Damn, didn't you brush your teeth before coming out? Why does your mouth stink so bad? He shouted, calling him a simp over and over. More like you wish you could be Willow's simp, but she wouldn't even look at you. I shrugged and said expressionlessly, if you feel so indignant for Willow, go tell her yourself. The men leading the group stiffened. Once, when Willow and I had a fight, someone really had tried to take advantage of it. He insulted me right in front of her. She rewarded him with 10 hard slaps. She had said, say one more bad word about my husband and see what happens. Only I get to scold my husband. Who the hell do you think you are? His face stayed swollen for over a week. After that, no one dared provoke Willow again. After finishing, I ignored him completely. I took the model portfolios the promoter handed over and began flipping through them one by one. Only after I had selected 6 models of completely different styles did I finally look up at him. You're more than welcome to try, I said. Bluffing really is useful. Willow and I had broken up countless times before. Every time, I was the one who coaxed her back. Now they couldn't tell whether we were truly over for good. Chapter 3. The group of rich second-generation heirs quickly scattered like startled birds. The 6 young models obediently surrounded me and my buddy, calling us handsome. Each of us had 3 beauties in our arms, grinning from ear to ear. One fed me fruit, another fed me drinks. One, dressed in a semi-transparent gauze dress, began dancing provocatively. Her skirt swayed lightly, her waist moving slowly, her graceful curves fully on display. I suddenly felt that fixating only on Willow all these years might have been a mistake. So when my buddy, still upset, started trash-talking Willow, I joined right in. Willow, who would like a tigress like her? I was just lusting after her body, that's all. I even got more worked up as I spoke. Laughing, I said, it's true that I loved her, but it's not like she's the only one I can love. Sure, Willow has the looks, the skills, the body, but I'm already bored. Then I suddenly blurted out, holy shit, David, 1 o'clock direction, big-time beauty. She's not any worse looking than Willow. Should I go hit on her? Before David could respond, he picked up my phone, which had been ringing non-stop, his expression turning grave. He held it in front of me. Someone had recorded me groping a model's thigh and everything I had just said, and sent it to Willow. She had almost instantly bombarded my phone with calls. WeChat messages kept popping up. George, stop playing dead. Answer the phone. Very good. So everything you said about loving me before was a lie, right? Playing with other women right after we break up. You might be proud of yourself, but if you dare toy with my feelings, your life won't be so certain. I'll be there in 10 minutes. You'd better pray you can escape within that time. I was drunk out of my mind. I leaned in close to the screen and squinted for a long time before finally making out the words. Then I casually powered off the phone. David's eyes widened. Bro, if you turn it off, won't she go crazy? Who cares? I said. Wait, aren't we running? If Willow catches you, she'll kill you. My head spun from the alcohol. I grinned foolishly. Kill me how? She's already given the reward speech, where's the punishment? David was speechless. The most entertaining kind of relationship in this world is the ex you haven't completely fallen out with yet. And besides, Willow really is my type. As long as she doesn't start seeing someone new, casually pestering her after a breakup wouldn't be so bad. Under David's disappointed stare, I caught something in the corner of my eye and lunged toward it like a bird returning to its nest. In an instant, the scent of roses mixed with a faint feminine fragrance filled my nose. The woman in front of me resembled Willow by about 50%, but her makeup was sweet, her lips red, her teeth bright. She looked gentle and innocent, completely different from Willow's bold and flamboyant style. I asked, "Do you remember me?" The beauty looked confused and examined me carefully. "Sorry, I just returned to the country. I don't quite remember. Who are you?" I sighed and said, "You don't remember? When we were kids, you played at your house. I played at mine. We didn't know each other at all growing up." She listened for a while, then couldn't help curling her lips into a smile. "Honestly, if I could even win over a tigress like Willow, I was already terrifyingly powerful," I said. "It doesn't matter that we didn't know each other when we were kids. How about we get to know each other now?" I handed her a shot, then downed the drink in my own hand in one go. The beauty froze for a second, then followed and drank hers too. I laughed. "Why did you drink it so fast? Aren't you afraid I might be a bad guy?" She leaned half against the high table, her gaze flowing and hazy as she looked at me. Her voice was sultry as she said, "I'm not afraid of bad men being bad. I'm only afraid of bad men being handsome." "How bad could you possibly be?" I replied. "You can't even imagine how bad I am. Handing out wedding candies at a funeral home, playing adult movies inside a temple, singing about motherly love at the gate of an orphanage, giving out digestive tablets at the entrance of a relief station. Bad enough." When she laughed, sharp little tiger fangs showed at the corners of her mouth. She looked sly and adorable at the same time. After touching too many tigresses, switching to a little wild kitten didn't sound bad either. Chapter 4. She blushed at the ears under my direct gaze. She let out a soft snort and asked, "You're pretty bad, aren't you? You must trick a lot of young girls like this." I replied. "Trick? I always thought being able to sense a girl's subtle emotions was simply a gift from heaven." She asked, "And what have you sensed?" Her fingertips brushed across my palm, and I suddenly caught her hand. "I sense that you have a lot you want to tell me," I said. "I sense that my so-called gift only truly works when I meet someone like you." The woman before me gave a faint smile. "You're the first person I've met who's this interesting." "I'm not just interesting, I'm also very good at listening," I said lazily, gently rubbing her fingertips. "All right, I'm ready to listen to the wounds of your family of origin and your regret-filled childhood." She lowered her eyes thoughtfully toward her glass. "My childhood," she murmured. I lightly tugged her hand and pulled a little harder. Caught off guard, she leaned forward, her chin brushing against the hollow of my neck. The scent of Libra perfume lingered at the tip of my nose. I leaned close to her ear, my voice barely there as it slipped into her ear. "But after I listen, you know what I'm going to do next." When I pulled back slightly, I saw her flushed cheeks. I was just about to press my advantage with another teasing remark when someone suddenly yanked me away. "Hey, who the hell?" The next second, I turned around. Willow stood there with a dark expression, her eyes red. "George, you bastard, did you wholesale those pickup lines? So the things you once said to me, you can just say them to anyone." She grabbed my arm and refused to let go, but another woman stepped in front of her. "Miss, could you show some respect? Starting with insults just makes you look uncultured." Willow's gaze snapped toward her, her lower lip biting tight. Oh no, that's the look she gets before she slaps someone. Instinctively, I tried to shield the little wildcat in front of me, but she stepped forward without hesitation. Their eyes met for a split second. Both froze. The next second, "Sister." Willow's pupils shrank. "Freya." My brain crashed on the spot. The random beauty I'd just flirted with was Willow's biological younger sister. I'd heard too many stories about Willow's family of origin trauma. I knew her family situation pretty well. The reason Willow's temper had been so explosive for so many years was simple: she lacked love. Her family was strict and traditional, but her parents were determined to go overseas to do business. Willow's grandfather, conservative and old-fashioned, insisted the children stay in Kyoto. After a long standoff, her parents left Willow behind to be raised by her grandfather. They took her younger sister, Freya, to the United States and didn't return for over a decade. Willow's memories of her parents were limited to the few fragments from childhood and the routine video calls every Lunar New Year. Although her grandfather treated her well, the absence of her parents' love left deep scars. In fact, when I first met Willow, she was still on medication for severe bipolar disorder and attending weekly therapy sessions. It was only that year that she finally stopped taking the medication and began to recover. At this moment, Willow stared at Freya for a long time. Her voice was slightly strained as she asked, When did you come back? Yesterday afternoon. And Mom and Dad, did they come back too? Willow awkwardly smoothed the slightly wrinkled hem of her dress. Freya replied. They came back too. They're getting older and want to retire here. Oh. Silence fell again. Willow glanced at me, then turned and walked away. Her eyes were faintly red, the corners slightly damp. Her face showed no expression, yet her entire figure seemed wrapped in a heavy sorrow. Watching her back, my chest tightened with an inexplicable sting. Without thinking, I ran after her. Chapter 5. I called Willow's name over and over again. She acted as if she heard nothing, just kept walking forward, like I used to. I joked and coaxed her. Wife, I really can't let you go. If someone resembles you even 3 parts out of 10, I lose my head. But after looking carefully, my wife is still the most beautiful. You're practically custom-made to fit my heart. Willow pressed her lips tightly together and said nothing. No matter what I said, she refused to respond. When we reached her place, she walked in and shut the door directly behind her. I stopped in my tracks, staring at the tightly closed door, feeling exhausted. Whoever said that emotionally twisted people just need a lover who refuses to leave? Well, as someone with no money, what I need is a bank that won't call the police. I kicked at the empty air in helpless frustration and turned to leave. But before I could even take a step, the door opened again. Willow wrapped her arms around me from behind. Her soft body pressed against mine. I could feel her trembling faintly. She said, "Are you choosing Freya too? Are you abandoning me?" My back grew damp. I sighed. The words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat. Just as I turned around, Willow suddenly lost control of her emotions. She stood on tiptoe, wrapped her arms around my neck, and bit down on my lips. That night, we went at each other wildly, but our mouths were sharper than poison. Everything we said was meant to wound. She mocked. Has it started, or is it already over? She said, weren't you just lusting after my body? Why are you already not holding up? She said, when I was little, my parents said they loved me. You always said you loved me too, but the truth is, you were all lying. With every sentence she threw at me, I grew rougher. Yet she bit her lip stubbornly, refusing to back down. I shot back. You talk so much. Willow, why don't you lift your hips? Can't handle it anymore? Yeah, I lusted after your body. So what? You think I was after your temper, your drama? You act like you loved me. What you liked was just a simp who obeyed you in everything, not me. All night long, from the sofa to the carpet, from the kitchen to the bathtub, we mocked each other, cursed each other, and spat out every word we had swallowed over the years. In the end, I collapsed into sleep, too tired to say another word to her. I didn't know whether it was sweat or tears that dripped onto the back of my neck. In the past, no matter how fierce our fights were, one night's sleep could fix everything. But now, at dawn, I stood on the balcony, smoking one cigarette after another. Cigarette butts littered the floor. When I saw Willow slowly wake up, her face streaked with dried tears, I got up and left. Neither of us spoke. No one tried to stop the other. The upside of not having a girlfriend is that you can squat up with your bros anytime. After partying hard with my buddy for a week, my mood finally started to recover. During that week, Willow and I had zero contact, but Freya asked me out. With a grin, I replied, "Send me the location. Let's see where my heart ends up." The place Freya sent was a private bar, under classic R&B music. Freya slid a glass of whiskey sour toward me. "It's really not easy to get you to meet," she said. "I've been asking for days before you finally came out." I took a sip. The sharp, burning taste slid down my throat. Smiling, I said, "Missing someone is like plastic, it doesn't biodegrade. Meeting is the antidote that brings dead wood back to life. You wanted to see me because you missed me." Freya laughed softly and leaned closer to me. Beneath her trembling lashes, her eyes were unusually bright, like a little cat waiting expectantly for a pat on the head. "If I missed you," she asked gently, "would you show up?" She knew her advantage well. A face that looked pure and innocent, paired with eyes that seemed affectionate even when looking at a stray dog. It made me pause for a moment. Chapter 6. I asked, "When did you start mastering pickup lines too?" Freya's slender fingers gently stirred the ice cubes in her glass. "Pickup lines," she said lightly. "It's just genuine emotion flowing naturally in conversation." She lifted her eyes to meet mine again, her gaze serious. "You still haven't answered my question," I replied. "All I know is that in a lifetime you can do many things, but you should never break a girl's heart." For the first time in my life, I'd met a true opponent. The silent battle had already begun. After a long moment, Freya laughed softly. "And that isn't a pickup line?" she asked. I shrugged. "A pickup line? No, it's just my clumsy sincerity. I don't understand much, I just want to have your emotions." She teasingly placed her hand against my chest, then let me feel this sincerity. Just as she tried to pull her hand away, I held it in place. "Well, do you feel it? Want to trade sincerity for sincerity?" I've always believed in one thing. Don't wrong a good woman. Don't let a bad woman slip away either. Don't initiate. Don't refuse. Don't promise. Don't take responsibility. One comes, I love one. One leaves, I forget one. There's always another next in line. Freya brushed my hand away and smiled faintly. I understand now why my sister stayed with you for so many years. The moment Willow was mentioned, my heartbeat skipped. My sister is cold. Freya continued. Bad temper. Keeps people at arm's length. Doesn't know how to cherish what she has. She added. I know you two are still entangled, but I don't mind. For some reason, thinking of Willow made my emotions restless and irritable. Freya blinked and leaned closer. You'll choose me, right? After all, since we were little, whenever it came to choices involving my sister, I was always the only answer. I frowned instinctively. Before I could speak, Freya suddenly leaned into my arms. Her hands rested on my shoulders as she lifted her eyes at me with a seductive softness. The scent of roses surrounded me. Freya smiled faintly. After 3 years, you're bored, aren't you? I'm younger than her, more energetic. Want to give it a try? I pushed Freya away from my arms, but faster than I was Willow's slap. Smack. I had no idea why she was there, and no idea how much she had heard. Willow's eyes were red as she shouted. That's your brother-in-law. You just got back and you're already seducing my husband, trying to be the other woman. Freya rolled her eyes and, without hesitation, slapped her sister back. And what if he's my brother-in-law? She snapped. If he didn't like me, how could I even be the other woman? If you don't want me to be the other woman, then cut things off with him completely. I stood there, watching the two of them claw at each other relentlessly. Only when the bar security arrived were they finally pulled apart. Freya and Willow each grabbed one of my arms. Willow said coldly, Are you choosing me, or her? Freya rubbed her cheek, pouting. George, don't forget how she treated you these 3 years. You don't have to choose me, but I don't want to see you jump back into the fire pit. Chapter 7. The three of us remained locked in a stalemate for a long time. I closed my eyes. The past 3 years flashed through my mind in fragments. My thoughts tangled beyond repair. Willow was a deeply contradictory and complicated person. Sensitive, starved for love, constantly insecure. She liked to push people away over and over again, just to prove they loved her enough to stay. Back then, I worked several part-time jobs a day to cover my living expenses and tuition. Chasing Willow was the only spark of fun in an otherwise dull and exhausting life. Once, she got furious because I was late to see her after finishing work. In a fit of anger, she transferred me 100,000 yuan. She snapped, If you're going to pursue someone, can you at least be serious about it? The least you can do is invest more time. From that day on, Willow activated premium mode, paying to be pursued. After we officially got together, she became even more dramatic, throwing tantrums over all sorts of reasons. She was like a high-maintenance baby, overly emotional. At the slightest dissatisfaction, she'd threaten to break up, and I would immediately coax her and beg to get back together. Over 3 years, I helped Willow overcome her psychological barriers and eventually stop taking her medication. And she helped me go from a broke nobody surviving on free cafeteria rice, to a researcher with modest achievements in my field. There were times when my feelings for Willow were genuine and uncontrollable, but being together isn't sustained by affection alone. Liking someone is only the beginning. Personality differences and compatibility determine whether you can actually go the distance. Maybe Willow had some feelings for me, but that bit of emotion wasn't enough to bind together two people from entirely different worlds. I turned my head slightly, not wanting Willow to see the mess in my eyes. What's done is done. I wanted to say something, yet no words would come out, so I left in silence. Willow watched my back slowly disappear through the doorway. After a long while, she let out a self-mocking laugh. In the days that followed, my life returned to calm. After giving Freya a harsh lecture, I blocked her. I stopped responding to any of her attempts to contact me. I didn't understand why she had done what she did. I didn't believe she truly liked me. She had her own motives, but no matter what those motives were, Willow Lu didn't deserve to be hurt. It wasn't until the day Mr. Lu came to see me that I began to sense the shape of things. Like something out of an old-fashioned melodrama, Mr. Lu simply sat there sipping tea, yet the aura of authority around him was impossible to ignore. He studied me for a long moment, his gaze sharp, then he said expressionlessly, I truly don't understand what kind of ability you possess to charm both of my daughters. I shrugged. I don't understand either. I had heard that Freya tried to come find me again but was forcibly kept home by her parents. She even went on a hunger strike, refusing to leave her room. Silence filled the room again. After a long pause, President Lu slid a check across the table. Tell Freya that you love Willow and want to be with her. Let her give up completely. I looked at the 10 million yuan check but didn't take it. Something told me it wouldn't be that simple. And then, I asked. His tone remained calm. After that, pretend to be with Willow for a few days. Then find an opportunity to leave the city and never return. I've already arranged a marriage alliance for her. You want me to lie to Willow? I asked. I looked at his composed face and felt a sting in my chest. Why do you always choose to hurt Willow? Isn't she your daughter too? He did not answer. Not even a flicker of emotion crossed his face. He simply left the check on the table. The next second, George, just try agreeing to that. Am I not even worth 10 million? Willow burst in just as she saw me tear the check into pieces. Chapter 8. It had been many days since I last saw her. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her face looked worn and pale. When President Liu saw Willow, his expression darkened. He said, "Bursting in like this, did your grandfather teach you no manners at all?" Faced with her father's reproach, Willow Liu suddenly laughed. "Yes," she said lightly. "People used to say I had a mother who gave birth to me but no father who raised me. So it's normal that I lack manners, isn't it? After all, you never taught me." Her words choked him. His fingers whitened around the teacup before he set it down heavily on the table. He snapped. "We gave birth to you. We gave you life. We gave you the identity of a Liu family heiress. We gave you a life of luxury. What you have is something others can only dream of. I owe you nothing." "Yes, you don't owe me anything." After a long stalemate, President Liu softened his tone. "Willow, you are the daughter of the Liu family. He is not worthy of you. Your mother has already found a suitable match, the son of Uncle Lin. Go meet him." A soft hand slipped into mine. Our fingers intertwined. Willow looked at her father calmly, neither humble nor defiant. President Liu frowned. "Willow, you are my daughter. As a Liu heiress, a marriage alliance is your responsibility." Willow pulled me away, ignoring her father's anger. "If that's the case," she said, "then I'm no longer your daughter, nor am I any Liu heiress. Freya can be your only child. Let her shoulder this so-called responsibility." That day, Willow walked quickly, but I could feel the slight tremble of her fingers and the catch in her voice. The first lesson adulthood teaches you is this: sometimes, parents simply do not love their children. Perhaps once they felt guilty toward Willow, but when guilt accumulates beyond repair, it's easier to abandon it altogether. We walked aimlessly for a long time. After a while, she stopped and asked me, "I'm no longer part of the Liu family. They'll probably freeze my cards and take back the house. I'll have nowhere to go. Will you still be with me?" There was uncertainty in her voice. I laughed softly and pulled her hand over, pressing my bank card into her palm. No matter how hard I tried, I might never reach the height of the Liu family. But over the years, I had secretly started my own business behind Willow's back and achieved some success. I was no longer the penniless nobody I once was. Willow's gaze flickered. She let me cup her face. My right hand slid down along her neck, wandering playfully. My left arm drew her into my embrace. I raised an eyebrow. "How about I give you a chance to be kept? Interested?" Willow swallowed unconsciously. "With this face of mine, going into that line of work would be expensive," she said. "But I can give you a discount." Then she added, "Can I start tonight? I promise I'll perform well." It had to be said, Willow in a maid outfit had a strong sense of service. Or perhaps she had changed from before. When I asked about it, she gathered her long hair to one side, lowered herself down, and looked up at me. "These days," she said softly, "I've been thinking, compared to losing you, I'd rather change." Chapter 9. Aside from still being clingy and possessive, Willow really had changed a lot. She said what she meant instead of making people guess. She was no longer overly emotional. She communicated effectively and solved problems directly. So much so that one morning, I was kicked out of bed by Willow while still half asleep. Still half asleep, I drove to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Still half asleep, I got handed a marriage certificate, and I didn't even fully process what had happened. When I told my buddy David about it, he fell into deep thought. Meanwhile, I kept yawning beside him. Our first night as newlyweds had been indulgent. He said, "Wait, bro, weren't you against marriage, and you just got married like that, and she didn't ask for anything?" "I guess not," I replied. I suddenly froze for a moment. I remembered when I was a child, both my parents cheated on each other. They smashed everything in the house during their fights. I hid inside the wardrobe, trembling. Back then, I thought marriage was terrifying. I swore I'd never get married when I grew up. After they divorced, they both quickly remarried and had new children. From that day on, I became the unwanted one, an orphan in all but name. I survived on social assistance, and yet here I was, married at a ridiculously young age. David patted my shoulder. "All I can say is, you two are the real deal. You love her, so you overcame your fear of marriage. She loves you, so she ran toward you without hesitation." He sighed dramatically. "We said we'd drift through life together forever." Sigh. I finally understand why emperors used to call themselves the lonely one. I began to think about when exactly my feelings for Willow shifted from lust to love. Maybe it was when I developed stomach problems from years of going hungry, and she cooked for me with a stern face. Maybe it was how, no matter what setbacks I faced or how others doubted me, she always chose to believe in me and support me. Or maybe it was even earlier than that. Looking back now, her past dramatic episodes weren't such a big deal. She wasn't wrong. She was just insecure, never firmly chosen by anyone before. All she wanted was a little love. The moment I realized that, I shot to my feet and rushed to find Willow. David shouted behind me. So the king is destined to be lonely after all. Wait, where are you going? You haven't paid the bill. Damn it, you skipped out again. I grabbed Willow and showered her face with kisses, wildly telling her I loved her. Willow shoved me away in disgust and said firmly, "You can say it 10,000 times, I'm still not agreeing to do it outdoors." I was speechless, trying hard not to laugh. I said, "I just want you to know I love you very much. I'll never leave you for the rest of my life." "Really?" she asked. "Really?" she said. "Then let's burn the marriage certificate and lock ourselves together for life." "Okay." I was speechless. That day, Willow watched the marriage certificate burn to ashes. Only then did she look satisfied. It happened to coincide with old Master Lou's 90th birthday banquet. Willow took me along with her. At the celebration, people kept glancing at me, quietly speculating about my relationship with Willow. Faced with the darkened expressions of Mr. and Mrs. Lou, Willow looped her arm through mine, leaned her head against my shoulder, and said calmly, "Legally married." Mr. Lou was about to have me thrown out, but old Master Lou stopped him. The old man studied me for a long time. "Young man," he said, "I remember you." Though advanced in age and leaning on a cane, he remained sharp-minded and clear-eyed. 2 years ago, when Willow was in that car accident, injured, hospitalized, nearly reduced to a vegetative state, it was you who stayed by her side for months. That wasn't easy. I froze slightly. The old master patted my shoulder and said to Willow, "I told you back then, this young man is someone worth entrusting your life to. In this world, sincerity is rare." That night, in front of Kyoto's elite and powerful families, the old master publicly acknowledged me. Mr. Lou frowned deeply, just about to speak, when a commotion broke out behind us. Freya, what's wrong?" Mrs. Lou abandoned her usual poise and hurried toward Freya, who had collapsed onto the floor. Her eyes were shut tight, her face pale as paper. She looked much thinner than before. I heard she had been on a hunger strike for days and had been dragged here by her parents for the birthday banquet. In an instant, whispers spread among the guests about the old entanglement between Freya, Willow, and me. Mr. Lou glanced at Freya with a furrowed brow, then turned and walked away with a sharp flick of his sleeve. Mrs. Lou remained behind, summoning the medical team. Freya was quickly carried away for treatment. Chapter 10. Life returned to calm once again. I don't know how my parents found out that I had gotten married, but somehow, they traveled across provinces to find me. They waited outside my company building. When they saw me walk out, they hesitated for a long time. They compared my face to a photo several times before finally stepping forward. "George?" The voice was low, uncertain. I didn't respond. I turned and walked away, but someone grabbed my arm and refused to let go. "You're George. I gave birth to you. I wouldn't mistake my own son." "Have you forgotten your mother?" "I'm your mother." I shook her hand off. "You've got the wrong person," I said. "I'm an orphan. I don't have a mother." The next second, another man in dirty, disheveled clothes shoved me hard and raised his fist. His eyes were full of resentment. "You won't even acknowledge your own parents. I'll beat you to death. You unfilial brat." The woman shot him an annoyed look and pulled him back. "You're still so impulsive after all these years. If you anger him, will he give us money?" The man snorted but lowered his hand, as more and more people gathered to watch. The woman grabbed onto me and burst into loud, dramatic sobs. "Mom finally found you. You don't know how seriously ill your younger brother is. George, as his older brother, can you help him? Mom really can't afford the medical bills anymore." The crowd began whispering, pointing at us. I looked coldly at the men. "And you, what are you here for?" He answered without hesitation. "What am I here for? I'm unemployed now, no job. You're my son, you need to give me living expenses." "Not much, just 10,000 a month or so." He said it as if it were perfectly natural, not a trace of shame. "I don't have money," I replied. I turned to leave but was blocked again. The woman who had been wiping her tears suddenly raised her voice, spittle flying as she shrieked. "How could you not have money? I've heard about you. You're successful now. You started a company and even married a Lou family heiress. I don't care. If we hadn't given birth to you, would you be where you are today? And we raised you until you were 10, that cost money too. You owe us." She threw a tantrum, refusing to let go, pulling at my clothes, yanking my hair, digging into my pockets, trying to snatch my phone. The men stood beside her in silence, silently backing her up, since I could remember. This was the first time I'd seen them united. I didn't fight them. I called the police. At the station, they shouted about suing me for failing to support my parents. I simply told them to do as they wished and left. When I returned home, Willow froze at the sight of my torn clothes. She carefully checked the scratches on my arm, barely suppressing her anger. Who did this? The tension I had held in all day finally broke. The lawsuit came quickly. Unfortunately, under the law, I was indeed obligated to support them, at least 800 yuan per month. Fortunately, it could be paid in goods of equal value. So every month, I bought my mother 800 yuan worth of ultra-thin 001 condoms, and my father 800 yuan worth of sanitary pads. When I told David, he laughed so hard he could barely stand, giving me repeated thumbs up. Willow didn't laugh. She just held me tightly, her eyes slightly red. Not long after, news came that Freya was leaving. I heard that the day she fainted had frightened her mother badly. After a long argument between Mr. and Mrs. Liu, they decided to send Freya abroad for further studies. It had nothing to do with us, yet unexpectedly, before she left, the one and only call she made was to me. "I'm leaving," she said. I smiled lightly. "Congratulations. Your goal has finally been achieved." I hadn't understood before why Freya had done what she did. Not until I saw the domineering Mrs. Liu and the distant, cold Mr. Liu. Only then did I realize that Freya, who had grown up under her parents' constant attention, hadn't had it easy either. The parental affection Willow had longed for all her life was, for Freya, a suffocating cage. She had simply used the situation to her advantage, allowing her mother to send her away under the pretext of emotional recovery, escaping her parents' control. "Help me tell my sister I'm sorry," she said. "Okay," I replied. After a long pause, she asked softly, "Will you hate me?" "Not really," I answered calmly. "I knew you were acting." The line went silent, so silent that I thought the call had dropped. Then Freya's clear voice came through again. "I was acting, but if I said there was at least a small part of me that was sincere, would you believe me?" "It doesn't matter," I replied. The air seemed to freeze once more. A moment later, the airport boarding announcement sounded in the background. Freya's voice was slightly hoarse. "Goodbye, George." Before I could respond, Willow hooked her arm around my neck, casually ended the call, and tossed the phone aside. Emotions found their outlet through movement. After a reckless night, I leaned against the headboard, smoking. Willow curled up under the blanket, suddenly thinking of something. "In a couple of days, you'll turn 25, she said. I raised an eyebrow. "What? Planning to give me something? Can I make a request?" I was thinking maybe outdoors. She shook her head. "No, I just suddenly remembered that saying, once a man turns 25, he can only talk." I nearly choked. She looked at me with genuine concern. "Husband, do you think that'll happen to you one day?" I didn't answer. I simply got up silently and walked to the kitchen. "Husband," she called out, confused. I grabbed a handful of goji berries and swallowed them expressionlessly. Then I turned, grabbed her ankle, and pulled her toward me. "Impossible," I said. "There are only two endings for us in this lifetime. Either I die on you, or you die on my bed. We're locked together for life."